And good morning. Welcome to Citizen Extra. I am Ann Kiguta. We are bringing you news as it happens from across the country, even as we watch day 2 of public hearings into the election laws amendments that Jubilee is pushing through both the National Assembly and the Senate. And we'll be live for you very shortly. We've got pictures from County Hall where these public hearings are expected to be taking place today. And so very shortly we'll be able to take you live to that location as we listen in to what you have to say about this very last-minute push by Jubilee to change election laws. But we're also live for you in Nyeri and Eldoret this morning. Our reporters are standing by to bring us reaction from across the country regarding these laws and, of course, just some 20 or so days to the general election. Let's start by taking you now to Nyeri, where our Martin Munene is standing by with the county's governor, and will be bringing us more on the reaction of area leaders regarding these proposed amendments. Martin.
All right, very good morning to you, Ann Kiguta, and like you said, you're getting us live from Nyeri County, and where I'm standing is outside the governor's office, and he's expected to be here any minute now. And what is going on in Nyeri County is that people are really following what is going on in Parliament, because over the weekend there was a campaign trail across this county led by the governor and all the elected members of the Parliament and also those of the County Assembly, and with one voice they spoke and they said that they are in full support of what is going on in Parliament in terms of the amendments, and they say that they are happy that the members of Parliament they elected are actually doing what they asked them to do. And so the governor is going to just be giving us a highlight into that, and also many feeling that there is need for these election laws to be changed, because they are saying that the interests of the county, which is strongly in support of Jubilee, will be factored in, and especially now this week that we have the public participation, they were saying that if anybody has a problem with what is going on in Parliament, then this is the opportunity, this is their time to actually just go and just express what they feel or what they think about it. And so maybe in a short while I will be coming back to you and with the governor just to give his insight in the same, because apparently he's not been able to come here by this minute, but he's going to be here in less maybe than 2-3 minutes. And so we're going to just come back to you and let you know what he's saying, because he's been leading the campaigns in Nyeri and especially drumming up support for the members of Parliament, saying that he as the governor and as the person who represents the people of Nyeri, he feels that what they're doing is right, and he's in fact gone further to say that anything that they require from the ground in line with that, he is ready to mobilize people in support of that. And
all right, thanks, Martin. We'll be catching up with you shortly. Let's cross over now to Eldoret, which of course is another Jubilee stronghold. John Wanyama is standing by for us also with reaction of political leaders in the area regarding this push by Jubilee to have these amendments changed. Wanyama, good morning. What do the people of Eldoret have to say, even as public hearings enter day 2 into these electoral law amendments?
A very good morning to you back there, studio, and here in Eldoret, residents here, especially leaders. Yesterday we were talking to Governor Jackson Mandago and Soy MP Caleb Kositany, and they are very happy with these laws. They are saying that these laws must be passed before they go for the coming re-election. And most of these leaders are saying these laws are meant to gap those whatever maybe the court said that there were irregularities in the last election. So most of them, they are really supporting and they are in for it. And as you know, these are Jubilee strongholds, so there's nothing maybe you can say they can go against. But all of them, most of them are supporting. And with me, I have former Speaker for Elgeyo Marakwet, and we would like to talk to him. He's also a political analyst, to tell us his mind and his views about this. What is your take on this public participation today being at day 2?
I think principally, knowing that the lawmaking process is made by the Parliament, I think what the National Assembly and the Senate are doing by forming that committee to be able to look at those laws. So public participation is anchored in our constitution, and there is nothing wrong in Parliament committee to be able to invite the views of the public. So principally, as a matter of practice, what Parliament are doing is what is expected of them. There is no law that can be able to be passed in any Parliament without getting the public views, the views from the members of public, and knowing again a lot of interest that these laws has come up. It is incumbent of the Parliament to ensure that they get as many views as possible to be able to contribute to the view.
Do you support these laws at this time, few days to this election?
I think personally, I want to believe that what Parliament are doing is what is expected of any Parliament. Once there is a laguna in law, once they discover that there is a shortfall in the way systems are running, Parliament is expected to be able to pass laws. I think the critical thing that Kenyans should be asking themselves is the timing. So I don't have a problem principally in terms of those pieces of legislation, but again, I think it could have been wise that we relook at the timing, because right now this country is so polarized politically, and maybe the wisdom could have been we shelf the implementation of the said law until after 26, so that again whatever is going to be done, it is going to be able to secure the 2022 going forward.
Yeah. Maybe can we imagine, do you think in your own views this election will be happening 26th of this month?
I do not see why the elections will not be able to take place, and already IBC have already given assurance to Kenyans that they are ready. I think the elephant in the house is whether the NASA team led by Raila Amolo Odinga will be able to be involved in the election. From where I'm sitting, I believe that Jubilee will win by a big margin. The only issue that is coming in is there is current stalemate, and it is very important again for Kenyans to appreciate that they say still waters run deep. There is a funny cloud in this country that even the Kenyans themselves, they are not coming out strongly, and there is no passion and excitement about the election, and that makes me worried, because half of the country believe, those who are supporters of Raila Amolo Odinga and NASA are believing that there are some amendments and changes that should come from the IBC, or what you call popularly referee, before they go to the field. So there is a likelihood on 26 that when the referee will blow the whistle, one side of the team will be there, the other one will not be there. And I think that is what worries me personally, because I believe that Raila Amolo Odinga should be able to tone down the demands that they are making. Some demands could be good, but they are not reasonable. Looking at the circumstances in which the country is now, looking at 2007, 2008, it is just the other day. It is just the other day. Hardly have we done even more than 20 years. And if we don't learn from the mistake they made in 2017, I can tell you the political undertones that are going on right now are likely to be a recipe of a rematch of a replay of what we witnessed in 2007. So I believe Raila Amolo and the team should be able to tone down and be able to, agree that, and I like the way my president has been saying, that in politics there is no personal, you don't take it so personal. It is a game, it's a match. Whoever will win will be able to take the day. But again, I think His Excellency the President, who is the President of the Republic of Kenya at the moment, has again a critical responsibility to ensure that this country will be able to remain peaceful before election on 26 and after election 26. Because I think what Kenyans are worried most is what you call post-election events. That is exactly what all of us are worried, because if Raila Amolo Odinga will not be participating in the election, what happens? Already I say that I'm not boycotting, but I will make sure that this election does not go. That means, and remember, Bwana Wanyama, that His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta and the country at large, since the time that they took over, Kenya as a country, we have won a lot of respect globally. Everybody's what you saw yesterday, Western envoys and ambassadors are really raising critical issues, because nobody would want to see Kenya going to the docks. Nobody. So in fact, then I want to call upon the leaders that if the Western world and the whole global world are asking Kenya don't go to the docks, I think it is our responsibility. And in fact, as we are speaking, our economy is deteriorating. Yesterday we saw Nairobi University is being closed. We have children who are having dreams. Jubilee, our government has already promised that any interns will be paid. So things are being affected. We do not know which university is going to be closed tomorrow. We know that the mass actions that have been called every Friday, and I think it is setting the stage for post-election violence for that reason. So I think we need to be a concern and worry team as a country and realize that we really need to sober up. Otherwise, it might go beyond our control.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anne. And that is former Speaker Elgeyo Marakwet, Mr. Koche. And as you can remember, he has stated clearly that Kenya need peace, unity, and we have to stay together and as a one country. Because of politics, we should not divide this country, but remain together so that we can forge to the development. And this country was not built in a day. We have come for a long way up to wherever we are. And each and everyone's prayer in this country is that election is coming, is for one day, and it will go. So, and we are all still looking into these issues. And as he said earlier before, that this region also is is down, especially in terms of election mood. They will not feel that mood. People are going on with their businesses. People are trying to see whatever they can do, because there is no even money circulation. So each and every Kenyan in this region, especially North Rift, they are doing whatever they can do to ensure that they have food on their table at the end of the day. Maize are now in the farms, now dry. They are starting harvesting plus wheat. So politics really, and in this region, we can say that is on a high note. No, here politics is at a low note, and people are just talking in low tone. So we are expecting to see maybe in the next few days whether the president and deputy president will be visiting this region, maybe to spark this spirit again to come up. Anne.
Thank you very much. John Wanyama reporting for us from Eldoret. Let's get some of our own public hearings on the matter and take you to Kisumu now, where Laura Tieno is standing by with reaction on these proposed amendments. Laura, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you and Kiguta back at the Communication Center. And today in Kisumu County, we are at the Kisumu County Assembly basically to seek opinion of local leaders concerning the proposed amendment. As you know, and it's only 6 days, that is to the 10th of October, when the Ad Hoc Select Committee is supposed to present its findings. Of course, you know, the committee was tasked with the mandate of scrutinizing the bill and subjecting it to public participation. And of course, in light of all that, we understand that as of yesterday, NASA had agreed to discuss what they termed as irreducible minimums. And now, if I can be joined by Mr. Khan, who's one of the members of County Assembly here in Kisumu County, what do you make of the proposed amendments bill, and what is the implication on the repeat poll?
Thank you very much, Madam. What I would like to say, and I would like to say it very seriously, is that this one is just a very big joke. To us Kenyans, we cannot just go when elections are supposed to be held for the presidential elections. Then we are being told that the laws were ineffective or were illegal or things like that. It is just like if someone is baking a cake and then maybe electricity went. Then when it went, then they come back to, the chef comes back and says that, oh, the sugar was less, or the whatever yeast was not okay, the baking powder was not okay, the flour was not okay. Except though it should have been the electricity that was not there, and they would have sought a way of how to bake it nicely. What I am saying and suggesting is that in fact this one is a serious blunder by the Jubilee government, because what we are seeing in it is that they are trying to infiltrate our system, and then by saying this, actually they're just trying to see what best they can do. What I know and understand is that it is very clear that we as Kenyans cannot accept that we can be given only a day's notice, and then it appears in the dailies that they want to take the Wananchi's views on the same. It is just like, what is wrong it is actually not what Maraga pointed out.
Well, thank you very much. And maybe if I could also take another of your colleagues, the envoys were giving recommendations the other day on how the leaders should be conducting themselves ahead of the repeat polls. I mean, now, what do you make of that?
Thank you very much. In fact, I'm very much disappointed with the Jubilee government because itself, in fact, from the first one to go, Maraga never said that we change the elections. We change the laws. The only thing he said that at least we should follow the laws, but he never said that we change the laws. Now we are wondering why the Jubilee government is now changing the laws. This one gives us a very big afterthought about the same, because what was the need to change the law, and what is the difference between changing the law and following the law? Yes. The Jubilee government is now changing the law, but the Chief Justice said that we follow the law. So this one we are reading a very negative on the Jubilee government.
Okay. Well, Michelle, if you could join us kindly here and tell us, the Chief Justice had directed that the repeat poll will be done. Do you think that when he meant that and the Jubilee side was trying to change the electoral laws, do you think the Chief Justice meant that the repeat poll should be conducted according to the laws at that time or according to the laws at the time of the election?
I think the Chief Justice made it very clear that the laws at that time were already set and ready for the repeat elections. There's no need to change any law. First, the timing is very ineffective because Parliament as it is right now cannot make good decisions, because as it is, the NASA people are arguing that the Parliament right now is illegal. So it's not logical to change laws right now because it's not time friendly. Plus, I think they're just sideshows by the Jubilee to avert people's attention so that they don't look at what is supposed to be done in IBC to make the upcoming elections successful.
Well, and NASA has agreed that they're going to discuss their irreducible minimums. Do you think that is going to potentially affect the October 26th repeat poll? Do you think that now they're sort of warming up to that idea?
Yeah, they are. Like we saw yesterday, there's a little bit of ice breaking that went about yesterday, even though Chebukati rejected the irreducible minimums, but there are logical things that are supposed to be happening. If you look at them, they are really fundamental things that I don't even get why Jubilee would sort of say they don't have any problem with the IEBC. At first, even Justice Maraga found IEBC to be a culprit. That's why the bungled elections were termed as bungled. So I think the way forward is to just look at sit on a round table, get views from everyone. Jubilee should come, NASA should come, and they should find an amicable way for us to go to the next elections, because without that, I don't see our country moving forward.
Well, thank you very much, and those are some of the opinions we could sample from some of the opinion leaders here in Kisumu County, and of course, they are hoping and of course enthusiastic that we'll have repeat polls on the 26th of October, and everything will actually just turn out fine. We're waiting to see how it turns out on the 10th. Of course, most of them don't feel very hopeful, or rather very satisfied with the public participation of the amendment bill. So of course it's a wait and see game to see what will be happening on the 10th of October and of course consequently on the 26th of October. And
thanks, Laura, for that report. Let's bring you live pictures now from County Hall, where public hearings are set to begin very shortly. Of course, as you've heard from our reporters across the country, the public watching this quite keenly. And even as we continue to look at those pictures very shortly, we should be seeing the very first submissions by the public. In studio with me is Daisy Amdani. She's a women's rights advocate. Charles Kipkule is a political analyst, and I'll be speaking to them very shortly. Let's listen in a little bit, if we can, to what's going on at County Hall.
The Elections Act and the Elections Offence Act. That is already in the public domain. Those are the laws that the proposed amendments are geared towards. And therefore, as we come before this committee, members of the public, we want you to know that you are appearing before your leaders. You need to be free, express your opinion without fear, because we have nothing to hide as a house. We want to move together as a nation by giving you a time to tell us what you want to tell us regarding the amendments. We will be limiting time because I can tell you the response is overwhelming. And so at some point we'll have to limit the presentation time so that we give more members to present. So let me stop there and say that this is going to be our second day. Yesterday we had the public, members of the public, but today it is institutions, and tomorrow the same. And before me here, my co-chair, Honorable Dulo, I will give her to make some comments, and then we give a moment to our members to introduce themselves. Then we move on now to invite the first member to address us.
Good morning. Thank you, my co-chair, members of Fourth State, and members of public and institutions that are represented here. As Chair has said, yesterday we had individuals who presented before us, and I'm glad that today we are having institutions. So as we said yesterday, we are here to hear all the institutions, all both government and private, those who have something to say about our bill, and we are going to ensure that your views will be captured in our reports, and feel free to interact with us. And of course, my colleagues also will be able to ask clarification where they feel that they want clarification to be made. And thank you very much. You're most welcome. And we can start off. Sorry, we started a bit late. We are doing a bit of housekeeping, which I believe it's...
All right, and you've heard from the chair and co-chair of the Joint Select Committee that is working on these amendments. And in studio, I'll just reintroduce my guests for you for good measure. I'll start with my far right, Senate Majority Whip Irungu Hangata is with us this morning. Next to him, Daisy Amdani, who's a women's rights advocate. And next to me is Charles Kipule, a political analyst, and you're all welcome to the program. Let me begin with you, Irungu, because beyond the substance of the legislation, what people question the most is the timing of it, and whether it is necessary to go into these elections with new legislation. Will it confuse IEBC? Does it speak of some sort of foul play or backhanded tactics by Jubilee? But more importantly, whether the electoral environment would have been substantially compromised if we stayed with the same laws. What is the response of the majority?
No, I disagree with such kind of insinuation. Reason being that what we are doing is purely pursuant to the judgment that was rendered by the Supreme Court. And if you are to fail to enact those new laws, then it means that the ground will not be even come 26th of October. Number two, we have to come up with ideas that are going to forestall possible situations which can rip up the nation before 26th of October. For instance, one example concerns the issue of what happens if Chebukati was to resign, which is a possibility, or even something was to happen to him as a person, and he vacates that office. Strictly speaking, there will be no replacement because the president cannot replace any person as of now. And number two, there will be a lacuna in the sense that we do not have any other advocate currently holding that office. We do not have any other advocate of the High Court sitting as a commissioner of the so therefore it will mean there will be no one who is going to have the power to announce the presidential winner. So we want to correct possible problems that can arise before 26th of October or immediately after 26th October this year.
Daisy.
Well, if I was Chebukati, I'd be very worried by these amendments, these proposed amendments, because they continue to envision his not being there. But having said that, I think that it's very disheartening to see legislators whose role is about Okay.
I realize we're in darkness, Daisy, and the lights will come back on shortly. Let's go to County Hall and we'll be back with the lights this time.
You introduce yourself, let us know who you are, what you do, and then you proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. My name is Michael Udiembo. I'm a finance consultant and been a banker for the last 2 decades. I've been a council member of the Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts of Kenya for the last 10 years. I'm here to give my views on the proposed bill regarding the elections. It is great honor to appear before you, honorable members of parliament. It's my belief that this exercise will lead to national understanding and consensus. This forum provides the best opportunity for our country to pause, stop digging, and reason together. I am in support of amendment bills that strengthens our electoral processes. However, we must never base it on the fact that we are a majority. Majority decisions alone cannot promote national cohesion. It must be remembered that one of the responsibilities of our president is that he is a symbol of national unity. As such, his election should never be allowed to occur under controversial circumstances. If you strictly pursue the spirit of our constitution, we will avoid what is happening today in Spain, what happened in Yugoslavia, or the Enabling Act of 1933 in Germany under Adolf Hitler. Let us purpose to leave no Kenyan behind. I request that through parliamentary mechanisms, approach your colleagues from NASA without tiring, with a view to get their views on what their preference would be relating to this bill, or what their solution to the present situation would be. Looking at the proposed amendments, they are responding to a lacuna created by the Supreme Court judgment. However, there's one small problem, honorable members. The amendments are mute on the ills perpetuated by the referee, which is IEBC. We must be a society that holds public servants to account. If you recall, in 2011, President of Philippines was found guilty of colluding with electoral officials to influence a senatorial seat and was sentenced. We must be a society that ensures that we demand accountability. In my view, this bill takes away our focus from the focal point. In my view, the problem is not the ruling with the Supreme Court, but however, the failure by IEBC to conduct its affairs according to the law. Honorable members of National Assembly and Senate, we are at crossroads as a country, and hence we need to be deep, meditate, and reflect. Again, many people out here perceive this bill to a response to a perception created that Kenya probably is the first country to annul a presidential election. that is largely incorrect. In 2010, there was one that occurred in Côte d'Ivoire. Electoral Commission declared Ouattara, and the Judicial Council declared Gbagbo. We all know what happened. We also know in Ukraine, it has happened. Austria, Maldives. Hence, it is not unique. We also know that in this country, a petition has been thrown out in 2013. Hence, I would appeal to the honorable members to ponder with wisdom the steps we are taking. Most times we don't quote musicians. Allow me to quote Frank Ocean, an American musician. He says, when you are happy, you enjoy the music. But when you're sad, you understand the lyrics. Honorable members, let us not fall victim to confirmation bias, trying to interpret evidence that confirms our beliefs. Let us be careful so that we deal with what will affect this country for the next 100 years. I implore honorable members to avoid the famous joke that during the space race between the Americans and the Soviets, the Americans invested money researching on the best pen that could write in the moon, but the Russians only carried a pencil to solve the problem. I want to urge you to be critical but lateral thinkers. Let us look for the low-hanging fruits that can fix our problem so that we move together as a nation. I want to go into a few issues that I identified in the bill. One of them is the issues of conflict between electronic results and the Form 34A. I find this a bit confusing. There are two aspects to electronic results. There's a scanned copy, which is equivalent to the hard copy. There is what they call the text result. There should never be an occurrence where those two differ. I believe in a polling station, there are at least 5 people who witness the scanning and the transmission of that form. Are we saying the counting clerks can't count well? Are we saying the presiding officer cannot verify what has been counted and entered? Are we saying the deputy presiding officer cannot verify? Are we saying the agents are incapable of identifying only 6 entries at most? That we should allow errors of transmission. In my view, that is incorrect, and we will promote incompetence and negligence. The second issue is a continuity plan in the absence of the chairman. I largely agree with this. However, I want to propose that let Parliament review the proposal of 3 commissioners. The absence of the 2 already is a serious problem in the commission. In my view, the remaining 5 should form a quorum to take a decision on behalf of the commission. I also support the view that the chairman of IBC must not necessarily be a lawyer. The third issue that identified in the bill is where the bill allows complementary identification means if the KIEMS kit cannot identify a voter. Very reasonable proposal, but very dangerous because it opens the doors for electoral fraud. My proposal would be we go by what the Court of Appeal had suggested. If the KIEMS kit cannot identify you, we should take a copy of your ID, scan it in the KIEMS kit, so that we can authenticate that that is not being used to stuff ballots.
Are you about to conclude, Mr.?
Yes.
Okay.
I've also looked at the bill. The bill is proposing a 5-year jail term. I wish to propose to the honourable members of parliament that that is too lenient. Kenya has lost almost 4 months, including money. Not because we didn't conduct an election, but because one of us or some of us failed to be faithful to their motherland. We should not be lenient. The other countries that are doing better because they punish offenders. We do poorly because we babysit them. Let's give them 10 years without opportunity for a fine or anything. Finally, there are aspects that I feel that the bill has not captured. Listening to presentations here yesterday and many discussions in public, we get an understanding that agents are very critical in giving our elections credibility. And therefore, we need to make sure that agents are protected in law, because what has come out is that some agents claim they were sent away from polling stations. And let's make that a very clear crime, and if they lie, there are consequences in law, so that the amendments we make captures that. Counting and tallying, it is my view that the current setup has a problem. That the person who counts does not acknowledge the results they've counted. And to me, that's a serious problem. It is the presiding officer who signs, yet it is not them who counts. We have counting clerks. Hence, the counting clerks should sign Form 34A to acknowledge their figures. The job of the presiding officer should be to witness and acknowledge, having verified that they are authentic. Briefly on transmission, I also believe that the present setup of transmitting results may not be foolproof. It is my proposal that we should create, and it's possible to be done, that what is keyed in is not a text. We key in data in the KIEMS, similar screen to what is on Form 34A. They just transfer that data, which appears on their screen, to the KIEMS kit. It becomes primary data. Hence, if we need to go back, you cannot hack 40,000 KIEMS kit. You can only hack the server that controls them. That would mean the copy of the Form 34A is domiciled in the KIEMS kit. And in case we need to verify the figures, we do not need to count ballots. We'll go back to the primary source, which is Form 34A in every KIEMS kit, and verify, so that we don't nullify or we don't qualify an election which does not meet the standards. With those many remarks, Mr. Chairman, because of time, I have a memorandum I will submit for your review.
Thank you.
And there you've heard the very first submission. Remember, these are public and private institutions today and tomorrow before the Joint Select Committee. And I'll return to you, Daisy, with your thoughts. And part of what has been said is the fact that people really touch on the timing of the amendments rather than the substance.
I want to agree with that, because while, of course, we need to work towards constantly improving our electoral system and ensuring that it is foolproof, that it is coming at a time such as this, when there is so much contention, and Parliament is mainly focusing itself on amending the election laws as opposed to ensuring that the IEBC actually comply with the court orders, fully with the court orders of the Supreme Court, and is actually picking out sections mainly from the minority opinion that are now guiding this process. And so, of course, it is being seen as dishonest engagement, in the sense that we are headed for, hopefully headed for a very high stakes fresh presidential election. And IBC themselves, the chair of IBC, is on record saying at this point in time we don't need new laws, you know, we really don't need new laws. And while we cannot run away from the fact that Parliament does really need to clean up, you know, our Elections Act, some of the amendments that we're seeing are influenced by the outcome, and actually look like they want to create room for an uncontestable contest, whereby the issue the gentleman who made his submission raised, whereby the law now is saying that if there is a conflict between the form that the results that have been declared at the constituency level and that have been sent through the KIMS kit and the physical form, that the physical form would take precedent. And the question that we must ask is this: why would there be a discrepancy? Because that's what we need to look at, because that's really creating more conflict. Because if the form that has been sent is the authentic form, and then now being a returning officer, bringing a physical form to the National Tally Center, brings a form that varies from the one that has been sent electronically, the first question that we must ask is why. We cannot say that it takes precedent, because remember that those are some of the issues that have been happening, whereby a result is declared at the polling station or the tallying center at the constituency level, but at the national level things would be transformed, figures would be altered. And so, to guard against that kind of mischief, the KIMS kits were introduced, and the scanning of the forms was introduced, so that if at all there was a discrepancy between the image that has been transmitted and the final physical form, then of course a question must be asked: who is fiddling? But you cannot now legislate to give precedent over the one that can very easily be manipulated. So those are the questions, those are the kind of questions that really we must be asking ourselves. Aside from this, there is no strong push, because Parliament is insisting that the amendments are because they are in keeping with the Supreme Court's decision. Okay, we'll give them that. But the Supreme Court decision identified several areas where the IEBC itself had not complied with the applicable laws as they are right now, and there were serious irregularities and illegalities. That itself is not being addressed. So the question then we must ask: the insistence on continuing with IEBC without any fundamental changes, aside from the changes in law, which, by the way, are designed more or less to weaken the system so that it cannot be questioned. Even though we talk about things like the chairman being absent, envisioning absence of the chair, that the chair was sick, giving the rationale that we had a Supreme Court judge who was ill, you know, and didn't attend the hearings. But when you look at the Constitution itself, the declaration of the presidential result and the winner of the presidential contest is actually the role given to the chairperson of IEBC. And IEBC, the chairperson of the IEBC, while it is envisioned that he or she must be a lawyer, it is because IEBC also is transforms itself into a tribunal, so you do need to have some legal minds. So I think we cannot rush the kind of amendments, because it's important that we have a backup, that we have certain backups in law, but we shouldn't do it at a time when there's such high stakes, with just a few days to go to a presidential election, and they actually want to use these amendments for that election. So there's a lot of mischief. But finally, briefly, the thing that I'm saying, you know, we have an issue with the 12th Parliament in terms of its constitutionality as a body. And that is as the women's rights movement, because remember that they are not compliant with the 2/3 gender principle, and therefore the question that we are also asking is Parliament properly constituted to actually begin transacting business beyond properly constituting itself in terms of the 2/3 gender principle? So that is also another question that we are asking.
Right, Charles.
Well, and I think the issue that we want to ask is, how did we get here first as a country? And the fact is, we have grey areas in our constitution and our laws, which then necessitated even the Supreme Court to annul the election. So going forward, when we have that realization as a country that we need to improve, then there is need for reform. And when we listen to even what is happening around our country from both political sides, one side is asking for reforms, we have the issues of reducible minimums, and then there is the issue of amendments. Both of them speak to the need of improving our governance systems around our electoral management processes. So therefore, I think from that basis, I support the ongoing parliamentary process of amending the electoral laws. And the overall spirit of these amendments is just to safeguard the ballot and the vote, to make sure that previously, and arising from the decision of the Supreme Court, we realized a situation where process prevailed over the result, which really overrides that supreme will of the people. So while not saying that process matters, the one which takes precedence is the result. So that is the overall spirit of this amendment, and on that basis I want to associate myself and support it. But going forward, I think this is an opportunity also for us as Kenyans, from both sides of the divide, to just avail ourselves and improve it. Because you are seeing even what is happening now, the committee looks one-sided, because now one side of the political divide has decided to boycott everything. But they have quality additions that they could have taken there through the law. These are legal mechanisms of enhancing our legal systems. So instead of having these arguments out there in political rallies and outside parliament and processes that can then transform into law, they should present themselves to the committee, give their additions, and even beyond this, the hearing, beyond the committee stage, when it goes to now plenary and the parliamentary level, then they participate so that it becomes a national product, not just something that is perceived to be one-sided. But overall, there is this Greek physician and philosopher who said extreme illness often require extreme cure. So where we are as a country is that this is the first time in the history of our country, and indeed in Africa, that an election has been annulled. So
when is that the illness?
Yeah, that is the illness. Our laws have a problem. So when we ask ourselves why now, the issue is we found ourselves in a hole. So how do we get out? Improve the systems so that when we go to the next election, we have good laws, and at least to safeguard against some things which were grey areas and were not clarified easily. So that when we go forward, we are really able to say we have an election, we seal the loopholes. Now the elections become credible. And on the last point, there is this issue that I think that elections should be conducted according to the existing law. If these amendments sail through parliament and then they are signed and become law, then they become the existing law as amended.
You know, I have a question. You know, I have a question. How does the amendment to Section 6 of the elections, the IBC Act, with regards to the chairman, how did that affect the previous result, because the chairman is the one who announced this result. Okay, so how is this amendment directly in relation to what happened? We have the amendments to section 83, which really say that a person who files a petition must prove non-compliance, must prove that the irregularities significantly affected the elections. Now, that is tantamount to saying that IBC is insulated from actually proving that it actually carried out a free, fair, credible and verifiable election, and that if you have a problem, you must bring the proof. You must be able to prove that they did wrong. So they're insulated from having to But let's probe that thought, Irungu, even as she continues. I think in as far as having to prove that wrongdoing was done, could it be, as Jubilee I think claimed in court, that the petitioner was not going with specifics? They were basically on a fishing expedition. For instance, when they were asked about, the particular areas where, not even the servers, even when they asked about specific constituencies or other electoral areas where there was a problem that they did not know, they said all of them. We want to see all of them. And therefore, I mean, if you're looking for anything, you will find everything. The IBC have a responsibility, one, to ensure that whatever actions they do and materials they use they are verifiable, that you can audit these what do you call them, the materials. Okay, and in fact they are actually supposed to carry out an audit within 3 years of carrying out an election, and be able to give a report about the elections and the loopholes and whatever has been found. Now, as an independent body, but a government institution, they have a responsibility to be able to provide the necessary information, because there's nothing that is in their custody that belongs to them per se, because they are a public body. The information that is with them, the votes, just the same way that Jubilee are now saying, open the ballots, open the ballot boxes, let us count the ballots. Okay, it's the same thing. The same rationale that they are using is the same rationale that the opposition were using to demand that servers be opened so that they can show proof that there was some kind of tampering. Show us the KIMS kits, the GPS positioning of these KIMS kits, so that we can see really whether indeed these things were turned on, whether they were used to identify, and whether they were the ones actually transmitting the information that IBC actually said were not results. IBC themselves said that the information that was coming through their servers were not results. They said they were statistics. They said they were surgery. They said they were anything but results. Yet it was the basis upon which they announced the winner. So I think that the opposition and the petitioners in that case were well within their rights to demand, because there was information that is not within their custody, it's not within their purview, but is within the purview of IBC legally. Okay,
and it's public information.
And it is public information. Yes. And remember, the Constitution gives everyone the right to information, including information that is held by government bodies. So IBC cannot purport to be custodians of information that is top secret and that we have no access to it, yet it is the one that is in custody of the sovereign will of the people, or rather the expression of the sovereign will of the people. So the people have a right to see that that will has been expressed properly. So if we ask them to open their servers, really they should. If we ask that ballot boxes be opened and let's recount the ballots, they should be able to do that.
That should happen. Irungu.
Now, the key question that we should be asking ourselves is, what is the connection between these proposals and the election of 26th of October? And the connection is very simple. Raila Odinga went to court and said, no, look here, there are several forms that were not signed. We have several forms that do not bear the IBC stamp. And the court agreed with that submission. As a result of that, the elections were nullified. So now, how do we correct that? The only way to correct that is to have a law which punishes a returning officer who does not append his signature or does not stamp, or if a returning officer uses forms which do not have all the required security features. So we, the Jubilee side, we have come up with a law to make it punishable. On what basis then would Raila Odinga oppose such kind of a proposal? It is him who went to court. It is him who cited those anomalies. We now think the best way to ensure on 26th of October we do not have such kind of a recurrence is to come up with a law punishing returning officers who may fail to append their signatures, who may fail to stamp the correct form, who may fail to have forms which have all requisite security features. Then, when you see opposition refusing to support such kind of amendment, or my sister here, it then lends credence to our argument that indeed this petition was all it was a game that was originally planned, where you have a situation where some sympathetic clerks from NASA-leaning regions failed to sign some forms, use fake forms, and then on the basis of that, then that forms good evidence to nullify an election. So, number two, the issue of the chairman of the IBC, of course it goes without saying, everyone who is a person is amenable to sickness. You can get sick today. Something can happen to you. What do we have? We have to have what we call a backup plan.
But why did this just sort of reveal itself to Jubilee now?
This backup plan.
Before August 8th, the same.
And how did it affect the 8th process? How did the possibility of the chairperson not being there to declare the winner, how did this affect
the point is, to me, your argument is neither here or there. Because the point is, does it make any sense for us to have a backup plan? Does it make sense? If it does, fine, we proceed with it. Whether it was a material issue before the last election is neither here or there. You have to look at the cogency of the argument. You have to look at the cogency of the proposal, not trying to ask ourselves, why is it that we never raised it before?
Having said that, into the substance of the argument, you also want the fact that you are asking that this chair not necessarily be a lawyer in a commission right now that stands with only one lawyer who is the chair. Does that not open it up to some sort of vulnerability? As Daisy pointed out, this is what, a commission that also acts as a tribunal and therefore would need some sort of legal expertise at that top level.
No, it doesn't. One, we have several tribunals which are established by laws, by the way, which do not necessarily require lawyers to sit on them. For instance, the sports tribunal and several other tribunals that are established by statutes. So long as we have what we call the secretariat that is comprised of lawyers. The CEO currently is a lawyer, and most likely, even if he was to go, the next CEO will have to be a lawyer. The people sitting there ought not necessarily to be lawyers. Number two, you must also create a situation where you have meetings, proceedings, notwithstanding, establish a very very high threshold of reaching a quorum. When you have a quorum of 5 persons in a meeting, in a commission of about 7 members, that's a too huge threshold for one to be able to reach. So we should be looking at the cogency of the arguments of the proposal.
To be sure, I can't get more views right now. I have to go to break. Charles, I'll return with you very shortly after this. Stay with us on Citizen Extra.